I guess this guy, is he a VC? A guy named Chamath Palihapitiya is on with Scott Wapner on CNBC, and Scott Wapner got very, very surprised by this guy, Social Capital CEO Chamath Palihapitiya. And here he is with, I think, a perfectly reasonable assessment. Like, look, well, here, play the clip.
You keep saying propping up zombie companies. Are you arguing to let airlines, for example, fail?
Yes.
Why? I mean, how does that make sense in the broader scheme of the economy?
Because when you look at what it means, this is why I'm saying, this is a lie that's been purported by Wall Street. When a company fails, it does not fire their employees. It goes through a packaged bankruptcy, right? If anything, what happens is the people who have the pensions inside those companies, the employees of these companies, end up owning more of the company. The people that get wiped out are the speculators that own the unsecured tranches of debt, or the folks that own the equity. And by the way, those are the rules of the game. That's right, because these are the people that purport to be the most sophisticated investors in the world. They deserve to get wiped out. But the employees don't get wiped out. The pensions don't typically get wiped out.
Why does anybody, I just don't understand, why does anybody deserve, using your word, to get wiped out
from a
crisis?
So now I'm not sure that we have seen all that. Like, for instance, in the context of the GM bankruptcy, we came in with bailed them out, and we should have probably had more favorable treatment for the workers, because the unions had to take a big cut. They took a big cut. And in some instances, they go into bankruptcy and they are relieved of their pension responsibilities by the Pension Guarantee Trust. But in other instances, it's true. You go into a bankruptcy and you may say, you have secured debt maybe, or money that is due your workers, pension contributions. They can defer some of that for maybe shares in the company, whatnot. That's what he's arguing. And that the people who should take the haircut or lose are the speculators who have come in and said, I'm going to get these amount of returns because I'm taking more risk. Well, here's the risk. Here is the risk. The reason you have always justified getting all of this extra money is because you were taking the risk. But risk actually means something. And that risk is that if I'm an airline and I've been doing stock buybacks and I've been paying off myself as a CEO and the board of directors and C-suite hundreds of millions of dollars, and my shareholders, billions of dollars, instead of putting that money into reserves or into upgrading equipment or to, pre-funding pension obligations. If I've been doing that stuff instead of that, well, you've been taking a big risk. And now the chickens have come down home to roost. I mean, here's this guy's saying but it's nobody's fault. Why should anybody deserve anything? You got paid more because you said you were taking on more risk. This is what more risk looks like. Continue.
Is created like this? How does anybody deserve to get wiped out?
Well, but just be clear, who are we talking about? We're talking about a hedge fund that serves a bunch of billionaire family offices. Who cares? Let them get wiped out. Who cares? They don't get the summer in the Hamptons. Who cares?
I mean, there are people. You don't think the employees?
Hold on, Scott.
You don't think the employees of these companies own stocks? I mean, own their stocks, own the company's stocks?
You can look on Bloomberg and you can see what percentage of these companies are typically owned by. These things are owned by BlackRock. These things are owned by these huge, amorphous organizations, ultimately downstream, and the employee owns a few $100s or a few $1,000 of shares.
Well, I just don't understand. So this is like a natural disaster. And why does anybody deserve to get wiped out? Wouldn't that be immoral in and of itself?
No, because what's happening right now is what I'll tell you is on Main Street today, people are getting wiped out. And right now, rich CEOs are not, boards that had horrible governance are not, hedge funds are not, people are. 6 million people just this week alone basically saying, holy mackerel, I don't know how I'm going to make my own expenses for the next few weeks, days, months. So it's happening today to individual Americans. And what we've done is disproportionately prop up and protect, poor performing CEOs, companies, and boards. And you have to wash these people out.
There you go. These boards, and by poor performing, what he means is that they basically been enriching themselves at the cost of leaving these companies vulnerable to these type of shocks. This is a unique situation, but it's a shock. And you had the cash reserves to protect yourself from all sorts of things. You couldn't predict this, but you could predict there could be downturns. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was how much of that cash can you suck out of the company to put in your pockets? And if you're going to do that, if you're going to justify doing that because you're taking the risks, well, this is what the risk looks like. Workers weren't taking risks. They were supposedly getting paid for their labor, period. That's the deal. Part of their labor was investing in the existence of this company. Going forward, being able to pay them to work more. That's why they're not getting the same type of returns that you're getting. Those returns were a function of the risk that you were assuming. And now the risk went the wrong way. You lose. You made a bet. You got the odds. The bet did not pay off. That's the way we should be treating this. Instead, we have a stimulus that basically has just a huge, huge spigot of money that they can just turn the lever and it just flows out to these companies.